here last February. He's the pole marker, 28.178 lap time. Morgan Shepherd of the United States in a Pontiac in second spot on the grid, followed by Johnny Rutherford. So the Yanks have shut us out at the top of the affair there. Michael Waltrip in fourth spot in a Pontiac. Fifth place held by Sterling Marlin, the man plenty of people are tipping to win the race in an Oldsmobile. Harry Gant in the Chevrolet in position number 6. Car 57, Rick Wilson in a Pontiac in seventh spot, followed by Rodney Coombs in a Buick, holding down position 8. Then comes the first of the Aussies, Dick Johnson in a Ford Thunderbird, car 17. And rounding out the top 10, Roy Smith of the USA, also in a Pontiac. 11th spot, Alan Grice in the Oldsmobile, second of the Aussie Brigade, followed by position 12, car 64, Mike Potter in a Chevy. Position 13, car 21, Trevor Boys in a Chevy Monte Carlo. The 14th spot held by Glenn Sturer in a Chevy Monte Carlo as well. And rounding out the top 15, Jimmy Means of the USA in a Chevrolet. But
onto the racetrack yesterday was Michael Waltrip. Young Michael came to Calder Park Thunderdome back in February of this year. Had atrocious luck, had what I thought was probably the greatest pig of a car that was here in the field, and couldn't do a thing with it. However, he'd been the man setting the pace in qualifying on Friday, and Waltrip was on the circuit hoping to better 28.77 seconds. Waltrip going down into turn number 1. Here the tyres squealing, the car got a little loose in that corner. Gradually poured the power on coming down the back straight. And NASCAR, of course, have 2 qualifying laps. You then take the best of those laps, and that stands against your 1 lap time. Waltrip was confident going into this, but 28.777 was just something he was able to achieve. He got it down, surprisingly down to 28.508. Now that wasn't bad at all. Waltrip was jubilant. He'd already cut 2 hundredths of a second off his best time from Friday, and that then brought out onto the racetrack one of NASCAR's regulars, Morgan Shepherd. Shepherd at the wheel of the Valvoline Pontiac. Shepherd had taken the ride in the Pontiac following the withdrawal by Neil Bonnet, the man who won the February NASCAR race here at Calder Park Thunderdome. He'd banged up his leg yet again during the NASCAR Winston Cup season and had to withdraw at the last moment. Everyone considered Morgan Shepherd would be the ideal replacement for him. Now, but going into Saturday's race, his best lap round here had been 28.782. Second fastest behind Michael Waltrip. But yesterday, cooler conditions and a sensational lap of 28.357, and that was to give, for a little while anyway, a pole to Morgan Shepherd. When you'd appreciate the level of concentration required for these cars to try and somehow get 160 miles an hour out of them in a straightaway, and maybe 140 out of them in the turns.
What I do respect, Mike, is the way that they can go straight out of the pit lane, immediately in one turn put enough temperature into their tyres, and immediately do a lap that in some cases is the quickest one they've done all the weekend here. I respect that.
Well, in the case of Morgan Shepherd, as I said, 28.357, and now that had given him, up until that time, pole position for today's race. The next one out, Star JR. His forte is actually qualifying, as most Indy drivers would appreciate. You have to stand on it for 3 laps around the famous Brickyard. And in NASCAR racing, of course, put 2 super laps together to get up at the front part of the field. And Rutherford, who has limited NASCAR experience, showed he really is a charger. Tyre squealing as he came off turn number 2 and working the back straight.
He improved his time by almost 9/10 of a second here in the final qualifying run, and that's when it counts, because it's moved him right up towards the head of the grid. And as you heard him say to Neil, it's a while since he's been around in one of these cars, and so he's come to grips with it again very quickly and at the right time. And he is a real tough campaigner, Johnny Rutherford. We've seen that plenty of previous trips to Australia, although not in recent years.
Well, he's immensely talented, and like so many of the American drivers, as distinct from Formula One, which really is a young man's sport today. In the United States, the better drivers are in their late 40s and early 50s. And Rutherford, of course, going quick enough yesterday with a good time of 28.503 seconds. Hard it is to break into this super speedway racing on the big ovals, the multi-million-dollar deal that it is today. Combs is probably one of the best short track half-mile races in America, and gave away short track racing on a weekly basis 2 years ago to concentrate and try and get a good ride with NASCAR. And it really has taken him 2 years of hard slog in the middle of the field, in the back of the field. And probably this was his best run yesterday. This was the car that was driven to second place by out of 16. Speedway racer Barry Graham. Car number 2 starts out of 19. Terry Byers from Wollongong, very popular driver. And I know a lot of folks watching there through Win for this afternoon will be following his progress. He'll be starting out of position number 20. Fred Seary from Goulburn in the McFadden's entry. Car number 10 starts out of 23. Ian Clarkson of Victoria. Car number 8 out of 29. Barry Blake from Western Australia, for all those folk watching through TVW7 in Perth. Barry Blake starting out of position number 31. That's the back row, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him, Barry, in car number 7. So a lot more Aussies in today's field than we saw back in February. And finally, we have the cars coming out onto the racetrack to warm up those tyres and get us set for what we hope will be a very, very close Bob Jane NASCAR Christmas 500 race.
Must be quite something, Mike, to look out at this wonderful Thunderdome and realise you sort of dreamt it, built it, and now it's up and running to this sort of state.
It is. It was a lot of people just laughed and said, Bob.
And you're going to need to get the local product on the racetrack. I mean, you've seen that from the Oscar events themselves, but they want to see the local product up against some of the Yank tanks.
Well, if this is anything like as gripping and interesting a race as the Oscar was this afternoon, we're in for a really good show.
Well, the front row made up in flag, ready to come out. The field looks pretty good. It's going to be a nice, orderly start, a perfect start, in fact, as they come down the front straight. Green flag at the ready, and yes, sirree, we have the start at the $1 million Bob Jane T-Mart's Christmas 500 from Calder Park Thunderdome. And going into the lead straight away is Dave Marcus. He's followed in there by Morgan Shepherd. And just look at Michael Waltrip on the outside of Johnny Rutherford as they exit turn number 2 and now work their way along the back straightaway. The charge really down into turn number 3. And it's Morgan Shepherd on the outside now. Here he is. Can he hold that position on the track? Dave Marcus holds it in tight as they come off turn 4, down through the tri-oval. Here comes Shepherd, standing on it on the outside, and he may take the lead as they go down. Johnny Rutherford runs in third. Michael Waltrip is fourth. But no, Dave Marcus will not give way, and they will race this out side by side for as many laps as you like to watch. We've had a spill back in the pack in turn number 1, between 1 and 2, and the yellow flags are already out. There's the aftermath of it. And already the cars are down on the edge of the racetrack. They come back across the stripe because they race to the yellow flag here. And as they go across, I'll tell you what, it was almost a dead heat, but Dave Marcus is there. 52 is one of the drivers involved in that. I think that may be Jimmy Means. Yes, it is. And it looks like Fred Seary and pull them into the pits. Marcus will lead them across the strike from Morgan Shepherd, Johnny Rutherford, Sterling Marlin. Let's have a look at this in replay.
It's Jimmy Means off the top wall.
Jimmy Means, 89, has cooked it too. He's trying to get out of harm's way. 36, about to drill him in the back tyre. Powell, he sends him sideways. And looking now for where Fred Seary came involved. 36 now loses it.
That's H.B. Bailey from the US of A.
Won't you come home? And Fred Seary.
89 was Bob Howard.
He gets involved. Barry Graham goes through. I think may have put the tyre on one of them. And already we have activity in the pit area. 36 car is already in the pits as the rest of the field circulates round behind the pace car.
That's the Pontiac of H.B. Bailey.
Really a pity to see the race only that short before the first incident.
Well, one lap barely completed there. Flying lap time, by the way, was 29.72. Pulled a few bits of plastic off there, and HB wants to get back to the action.
I'm rather surprised to see that car going,
Yes.
Mike, in quite that state.
Yes, it was a little. We might have another view of that from our NEC replay. Those two cars just got loose and there wasn't a thing anyone else could do. They're all trying to get out of harm's way. This may show, there's Fred Seary going in, banging the side of the other car. There's Barry Graham in number 2 going across the grass.
That actually involved 7 or 8 motor cars in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Ron Esau was involved as well, car 56. I see he's gone to the pits to have some minor damage repaired.
Although this is his 3rd pit stop now. And one crew member is standing up trying to look and see how long before the pace car comes around, because every time you're caught in the pits and the field goes by, you drop 1 lap.
No chance of getting the bonnet up, pal. Sorry.
He's trying to tell him, stand by, get out there quickly. We don't want to lose a lap. Oops, and he stalled it. No, he's caught it. Now, HB would be hoping they have another 300 laps under the yellow. Forest City in North Carolina. He's had 339 starts in NASCAR racing. And has been round for quite a while. HB's back home again.
Pace car's off the track, so we're going to get a restart.
Getting set for the restart to the Christmas 500. Live from Calder Park Thunderdome, and it'll be Dave Marcus to lead away. Marcus is off and running. Morgan Shepherd behind him. Sterling Marlin is the next one. He has already jumped on Johnny Rutherford and pushed Rutherford back in the pack, and now Rutherford, oh, we've got a problem as Marcus goes very high coming off the turn.
He's dropping back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots he's dropped back.
Yes, he's got problems, Dave Marcus. He's dropping back through the field as we followed him up into turn number 3, where Morgan Shepherd has taken over the lead from Sterling Marlin. Michael Waltrip coming back at them on the inside as they come down the front straight. They're being tailed by Johnny Rutherford, and the next one back behind them is Rick Wilson, then Rodney Combs and Harry Gant.
And not only was Marcus dropping back through the field, he was posted out very wide, couldn't get across to drop down into the pit lane.
Well, that will cost him dearly, because we have a real race going up front. There's Morgan Shepherd in the Valvoline Pontiac working the back straight. Sterling Marlin still in second, and Michael Waltrip in third. Rutherford is next, and Rick Wilson behind him.
Keeping an eye on Dave Marcus just to see if he does pit this time round. He'll have to, yes. He's being overhauled by all the back markers. He drops down into the inside lane. And the pole sitter, the man who led the first couple of laps, Dave Marcus, is into the pits, and car 75 is our race leader, Morgan Shepherd.
Gee, that's bad luck for Dave Marcus. Everything was going so well for him. I don't think it's a tyre problem. The crew are right onto it. They're going to change an outside rear. There's race cam now as we come through turn number 4, back onto the front straight. And of course, race cams today carried by Dick Johnson and also Sterling Marlin. On the back straight, the leader is already coming up on a couple of lap cars. They are the two that were sitting at the tail of the field, one of them being Barry Blake. Now just watch how quickly they close on these two cars and how they dismiss the pair of them. Here they come back down through the tri-oval. One on the back straight away, sliding out towards the wall and clips it. May bring on the yellow as we go down into the bottom corner. Morgan Shepherd still our race leader. Sterling Marlin runs in second spot. Michael Waltrip is third, then follows Johnny Rutherford and Rick Wilson. They have opened up probably 4 or 5 car lengths over Rodney Combs. Harry Gant is the next one as we go down the back straight. And looking for Jimmy Richards and Alan Grice and Dick Johnson. There's Sterling Marlin's Sunoco car going down through the tri-oval. He's running second. The car just ahead of him is our race leader, Morgan Shepherd.
Well, Dick Johnson was running very well a few moments ago, right up with Alan Grice. Then he had a big moment going into turn 1 and dropped 4 places back behind Jimmy Richards.
There's Morgan Shepherd going down the back straight. Let's recap them for you. Castrol scoreboard. Our race leader is car number 75, Morgan Shepherd, coming down the front straight. Right behind him, though, is Sterling Marlin and the Sunoco Oil race cam down into turn number 1. Sterling, a very strong runner, very quiet guy, as Gary mentioned, 31 years of age. Drives the Piedmont-sponsored airline car in the United States. Now, this could be interesting because they're coming up into a lot of traffic. Barry Graham just ahead of them in the pack. And they are setting such a blistering pace. They're already well and truly lapping cars.
Like Dave Marcus, early leader, had a flat tyre. That was why he dropped back in the pack, lost 45 seconds in the pits. He's now in 26th place, 1 lap down.
Morgan Shepherd comes off high bank, second turn onto the back straight. The Valvoline car led this race just about pillar to post last year.
It's really interesting to see how Jimmy Richards is going.
Look at this, though. Following race cam now, the Sunoco race cam, as we sit behind our race leader, Morgan Shepherd. He's trying to put a lap on Barry Graham as they come down through the tri-oval, heading down to turn number 1.
Jimmy Richards and Alan Grice are having a really good battle out there. Jim's gained on Alan slowly but surely. He's right on his bumper now.
Coming onto the back straight, here's our race leader, Morgan Shepherd. And now, as we take the Sunoco race cam of Sterling Marlin, he puts the pressure on now. Look at this for some cut and thrust racing. These guys going at it. They haven't been able to put a lap on Graham at this stage. There's race leader Morgan Shepherd, and down on the inside of him as they come down the front straight is Sterling Marlin. Right ahead of them, Barry Graham. There he goes down the outside. Morgan Shepherd takes the lead back. That was close.
Barry Graham got the short back and sides, didn't he?
He certainly found out the power difference there as Shepherd takes the lead again, going down the back straight. Sterling Marlin tailgating him. Michael Waltrip is 1 back, followed by Rick Wilson, Johnny Rutherford and Harry Gantz. Coming off turn 4, down through the tri-oval. Fascinating race cam stuff.
Back in the pack, Jim Richards and Alan Grice having a real ding-dong. In fact, Richards has just taken Grice. They're running in 11th and 12th spots, respectively.
This is just sensational race cam. We take the Sunoco car of Sterling Marlin, the Oldsmobile, going down the back straight. The dip down into turn number 3. They come off turn 4 now. We call it a tri-oval because it has a kink in it halfway down the front straight. I guess that means you try your best to stay on line through there, Win.
Just 2.3 seconds separating the top half dozen cars on the racetrack.
And you'll notice there in the background, Michael Waltrip now starting to come up on the tail of the leaders. So too is Rick Wilson, Johnny Rutherford, Harry Gant.
Isn't it interesting to see the way they gobble up these back markers?
And just how close they're prepared to run.
Incredible.
Using lap cars as a foil. Well, we thought this would be a more competitive race than last year, and we're seeing that just now. Morgan Shepherd, the Valvoline Pontiac, leading now from Sterling Marlin and the Sunoco car going down the back straight. Absolutely flat out as they go into the third turn. It's got a little dip as they go into the corner. The car becomes a little unsettled, and there's another one as they come off the next corner where the underpass under the racetrack is. It's almost like a roller coaster.
Race leader Morgan Shepherd is closing very rapidly on Dick Johnson.
Sterling's got the good plug going, but there's the view out the back of Sterling Marlin's car. That's Michael Waltrip starting to gain on him now as they come down the back straight. And he's got Johnny Rutherford fairly close to him, and Rick Wilson and Harry Gant. Fabulous race going here for the lead. Oh, here's Dick Johnson about to have a lap put on him as they come down on the inside. Morgan Shepherd on the inside of Johnson. Look at Sterling Marlin. He's trying to go even deeper. Waltrip right behind them.
We've covered 30 laps out of 280.
Race cam again out of Sterling Marlin's car. There's Dick Johnson about to have a lap put on him by Michael Waltrip as they come down the back straight. Dick doing a good job, but I tell you what, these guys, these hardened professionals from the south of the United States, are just reveling in this stuff, door handle to door handle.
Dick Johnson sitting wide, letting half a dozen of them go through. He has no choice. Shepherd leading from Marlin, Waltrip and Rutherford, the big four from the US of A. Holding sway at the moment.
Morgan Shepherd gets a break going down the back straight. There it is. Our cameras show you the gap. Marlin got caught up behind a lap car as Shepherd now goes in, passing another one very high, but he's forced to ease out of the throttle just momentarily. Now he guts it as they come down through the tri-oval again, and that gives Sterling Marlin a chance to catch up. They're putting a lap on car number 56, Ron Iso from the west coast of the United States. So Shepherd again taking another car in his stride on the back straight. And back in the draft again comes Sterling Marlin. Back behind them, Rick Wilson, who has already got past young Waltrip, and Johnny Rutherford, Harry Gant being the next driver. So maybe these two Valvoline Pontiacs from the Raymock team might be up there running 1-2 shortly, because Wilson's doing a fabulous job in the 57 car. Valvoline Pontiacs followed by Michael Waltrip, Johnny Rutherford, and hard luck Harry Gant. Rodney Combs, one spot behind them. That's a good run in the field at the moment for Rodney Combs. He's probably about 6 to 8 seconds behind them. Here they come again. The split is actually less than half a second between first and second, second and third.
57 on screen, Rick Wilson, and he's the man that really has been putting up a phenomenal performance in these laps since we resumed racing after the yellow flag incident. Morgan Shepherd leading still from Sterling Marlin, but Wilson hauling them in, and is posing a real threat to the leading division now. Johnny Rutherford dropping back a little. Michael Waltrip still in touch with the leading division, and Harry Gant in car number 11, also one to keep an eye on.
Fascinating thing about this type of racing win is just how close the cars run, and the fact that the lap cars in between.
Well, this race cam gives you such an insight into how close everything is, over the bump, into the corner. Incredible viewing. I'm amazed how they're getting through the traffic and the pace they're keeping up to do so.
Once again.
Look out, Roger.
Sterling trying to make sure this guy doesn't jump out in front. No, he doesn't. Well, that was Glenn Sturer for a moment in the 18 car. He keeps him well and truly tucked as we swing race cam round. And then looking here, Rick Wilson, we find, closing on Sterling Marlin. Back behind him, Michael Waltrip and Johnny Rutherford. Now, this Raymock team prepared the two cars. That's the 75 and the 57 Pontiacs. Here comes the second car up to make life unbearable for Sterling Marlin. Down the back straight, race leader Morgan Shepherd, probably 3 to 4 car lengths clear of Sterling Marlin, and Rick Wilson is closing appreciably now on the tail of Marlin's Sunoco special.
Like they're still staying away from being lapped at the moment, which I think is pretty good.
It's not bad, because Marlin, Shepherd and Wilson come down the back straight. There's Barry Blake having another lap put on him by the hot guys at the front of the field.
Is Wilson having a real go?
That was Terry Byers, I think, that the Sterling Marlin swung around the outside of on the tri-oval, trying to keep young Rick Wilson away from him, but Wilson just keeps charging at the back of his car. That's how close they are as they come off onto the back straight. Ken Laws being passed. Rick Wilson now sitting right on the draft of Sterling Marlin as they go down the back straight. And right in front of Marlin is our race leader, Morgan Shepherd. Down through the tri-oval again. Coming up to put a lap on car number 85 as they go down to the bottom corner. That's J.C. Danielson. That's the driver, not the bottle.
There's only about 5-6 cars between Danielson and the front-running Australian combination at the present time. Jim Richards and Alan Grice. So the race leaders closing on them slowly but surely.
No yellows now for quite a spell, and that means that the first 5 cars have really closed up. They're having a fantastic sprint out there in front. Morgan Shepherd, Sterling Marlin carrying the Sunoco oil race cam, and right behind him Rick Wilson, and then Michael Waltrip, Johnny Rutherford and Harry Gant.
We've had 33 laps of racing since they resumed after the yellow. Rodney Combs in 7th spot on the racetrack, doing a pretty good job as well. 17 seconds down on the race leader at the present. We take race cam again. These two up the front of the field are really going for it.
And I don't think at this stage Rick Wilson hasn't thrown his best shot at Sterling Marlin yet.
There's a lot of laps to go yet.
Yes.
There cannot be being a little bit biased, I guess, but I'm still watching Alan Grice and Jimmy Richards having a fabulous battle out there. They're certainly proving that...
Barry Graham, Jim Richards.
They've got to get by H.B. Bailey's battered machine as well.
Well, Shepherd does that.
Here they come down the back straight. 3 wide now, all squeezing for a spot in the turn. Look at this is fantastic stuff.
Mike, that's incredible. Jimmy Richards has gone very, very high.
Grice has hung into the middle there.
Yep.
Fantastic. Johnson about to have another lap put on him. And here's Alan Grice trying to split those. And 4 wide now goes our race leader, the front running group. They all go in the high line. No problem for them as they come onto the back straight now. Grice tries to pick up a toe behind our race leader, Morgan Shepherd.
And does so pretty well, too.
Oh, how close was that car to the wall as they work the back straight up into turn number 3. Now, Gricey's sitting in there. Sterling Marlin does not want Morgan Shepherd to get too far away from him.
There's a car out of control right in front of the leaders. Oh, car 81.
Oh, there's Barry Graham trying to miss him. He does, and he parks on the pit road. Graham goes out via the grass.
That was David Sossaby in 81.
Whoo! Something had to happen.
Was that Waltrip went right down the pit lane and rejoining?
Yes. Yeah.
That was the only thing that was open at the time.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Waltrip took the shortcut right down the pit lane.
Wasn't that fantastic
you
stuff?
Don't get a lot
Goes into the pits. Looks like they're all going in, are they?
This is interesting, you know, because Alan's gone by and Jim Richards has gone by.
And look at
the Americans have, well, 90% of them seem to be pitting.
75, Morgan Shepherd. This is fantastic stuff on pit road. They're just all heading into the pits.
This has got to be race experience, really, hasn't it?
Just who can get out the fastest and who will lead the race at this stage. Looking to pick that up on the back straight, who has gone in and who is out. 42 is the first one out now. The 2 Valvoline Pontiacs are in there. Alan Grice elects to stay out.
Of the top 6 cars, Mike, only Michael Waltrip has elected not to pit. Oh, he did go through the pit lane. He didn't stop.
Yeah, well, he's now had a stop, Michael Waltrip, has he? And they are now racing each other down the pit road to get back out.
Grice has decided to pit.
Now, the rest of the field that didn't hit the first lap round are now going to have some of that in the pit area as the pace car picks up the field.
Yeah, Jim Richards is in as well, so both the front-running Australian cars, Grice and Richards, have made a stop.
There's Alan Grice, car number 03. Let's have a look at the replay. We promised you the NEC replay of what actually happened. Here was our race leader, Morgan Shepherd. Car number 81 was the car that spun.
David Sossaby.
Half Sossaby.
Instant snap decisions.
Graham just went for the grass. He's had Victor treatment. And no one made contact. And now, from another angle. Oh, this is with Sossaby and Stripe anyway. And he's got a little bit of waltzing going on there as he gets it sideways. Looks like he's going to plummet into the wall. Just misses one through on the inside. And here comes the field. Graham via the pit road and the grass, and everyone avoided contact.
Amazingly small amount of damage.
Seconds after the pit stops.
It's interesting that Dick Johnson didn't take advantage of that. He's still just up behind the pace car.
Michael Waltrip in yet again.
Rick Wilson's the leader. Morgan Shepherd forming up in the 2nd spot, followed by Trevor Boys. Now, he's benefited out of all this.
He certainly has. Sterling Marlin back in 4th place. Johnny Rutherford is 5th. Rick Wilson is our race leader. Morgan Shepherd, his teammate, runs 2nd. Trevor Boys is 3rd. Sterling Marlin is 4th. Johnny Rutherford is 5th. And there's a lot more action to come in the Christmas
action-packed laps out of 280 here at the Calder Thunderdome, the Christmas NASCAR 500. We're up and running again under the green flag.
Yes, green has just dropped, and of course that scrap that we've been watching, 75 Morgan Shepherd, 57 Rick Wilson, and 94 Sterling Marlin. Morgan Shepherd leads going down the back straight again, but Sterling Marlin is going back out after him. Rick Wilson is there. Johnny Rutherford looking more competitive than ever. And Harry Gant sits right in behind them as they come off turn number 4 down through the tri-oval. And this Bob Jane T-Mart's Goodyear NASCAR 500 race really warming up now. There's the scrap up in front. Sterling Marlin closing yet again on Morgan Shepherd. And the dice for third with Harry Gant just edging out Rutherford for fourth place as they go down the back straight. But Rutherford looking like he may have a little stronger engine. Yes, he has.
And for followers of the Australian Brigade, Jimmy Richards benefited from that spell under the yellow flag and is in fact in the top 10, running in 10th spot on the circuit at the moment.
Dave Marcus is also up there. He, of course, lost 45 seconds down to a lap, but trying to find his way back past the leaders. And Rodney Combs there also running in the top 6 at this stage in company with Michael Waltrip. They come down through the tri-oval. Morgan Shepherd, Sterling Marlin goes back out after him. Marlin electing just to sit in the draft of Shepherd as they go through turn number 2, now onto the back straight. Coming up on lap cars, 3 of them, including Dick Johnson. Watch Shepherd straight around the outside. Marlin closes. Race cam again, the Sunoco race cam in Sterling Marlin's car as he comes down through the tri-oval behind race leader Morgan Shepherd, and he's about to put a lap on Dick Johnson as they come down into turn number 1. There's Queensland's favourite son running the inside groove. On the outside goes Morgan Shepherd, and down the inside comes Sterling Marlin, and the two of them go side by side past Dick Johnson. They pass him. Oh, what a draft, and the two of them are side by side. Sterling Marlin just drifting slightly up the racetrack, and Morgan Shepherd on the outside as they come across the start-finishing line. Johnny Rutherford is now up to third. He's got a lease on life. He's passed Rick Wilson and is closing, yes, is he what, with Rick Wilson behind him, Harry Gant, and then, of course, Michael Waltrip and Rodney Combs. The high line around a lap car. Now it's Sterling Marlin in front, dictating the pace of the race. Right behind him, Morgan Shepherd in the Valvoline Pontiac. Then Johnny Rutherford in the slender U car. Turn number 2. There's no easing off in this form of racing, is there, Win? They just attack it.
I am surprised the way they get by the back markers. I mean, Dick Johnson's not hanging about. They just blasted past him.
That's closing up again at the front. NASCAR racing is like that, you know. Across the start-finishing line, Marlin has Morgan Shepherd ready to put a challenge on yet again. Both hug the inside line now as they come off the second turn and work that long back straight.
They've got a clear bit of track ahead of them at the moment.
Certainly a spirit to race there on the part of Morgan Shepherd. He's just trying to get Marlin up the racetrack a little bit and come down through this tri-oval on the inside, and that's exactly what he's trying to do before the next turn.
He's getting his nose on the inside? No, not quite.
Sterling Marlin. Car just looked a slight bit unsteady that time as he came off the second turn. They're coming up to put a lap on 3 cars. You'll see the speed difference shortly.
These top 2 have actually got a fair break now on Johnny Rutherford heading the rest of the division. Rick Wilson in 4th spot.
Uh-oh, problems here? No,
they got away with it.
Marlin closed the gate, though, very effectively on Morgan Shepherd while he was putting a lap on those 2 cars. A lap on Gene Cook. Johnny Rutherford, meantime, is running 3rd in the race and trying to hold out Rick Wilson and Harry Gant.
I reckon as the race unfolds here, Gant might be the man to watch.
I would know who you watch now. They're all so competitive. Marlin, Morgan Shepherd there, Rutherford, Rick Wilson, Harry Gant, Michael Waltrip and Rodney Combs. We really are watching some fascinating traffic racing here as they put a lap on Robin Best of Tasmania. And come down the back straight again. I think they're about to pass H.B. Bailey, is it?
It certainly is. It's amazing how that car is still keeping up such a pace.
Yes, HB looks like he's been the sole survivor of a demolition derby, but the car is still running quite strongly.
At least it should be running coolly.
It certainly is. Rodney Combs also running a good paced race. And coming down the front, back straight I should say, these two drivers coming up on 3 cars to lap. Making their way around the outside, Marlin, I think that's JC Danielson, as they use the outside line right out by the wall. That long tri-oval stretch into turn number 1. Bumper to bumper stuff. Morgan Shepherd getting closer all the time. Turn number 3. Just sits out of the draft, using the high line, back again onto the oval. Then Rick Wilson, Johnny Rutherford, Harry Gant. That's the order, and Michael Waltrip. Let's recap them for you on the Castrol scoreboard. Sterling Marlin is the race leader in the Sunoco Oldsmobile. Morgan Shepherd is second. Lap number 76 of 280 in the Bob Jane T. Mart's Goodyear Christmas 500 from Calder Park. Still fascinating. Dice for the lead. Sterling Marlin leading Morgan Shepherd. Then back behind them, Rick Wilson. And the scrap, of course, Michael Waltrip, Harry Gant and Johnny Rutherford. Sterling
Marlin leading after 76 laps. In fact, did lead through the 70-lap mark and has picked up a small bonus there of $7,500 for doing so. Set of tyres there.
Buy a few cleavers for that at your T-Mark. At the moment, also Harry Gant and Michael Waltrip. There's Michael Waltrip in the number 30 car. 88 Pontiac. Putting a lap on Barry Blake as he goes round the outside, and Harry Gant follows. Just ahead of him is Rick Wilson. Johnny Rutherford is just back behind those two. And he's having a heck of a dice with Dave Marcus, who pitted earlier. Now, Rutherford was up to third. Just the car maybe just a little off the boil. There has been a frantic pace. And I would think that the cloud cover today would make things a little easier for the drivers. Dave Marcus is 4 laps down. We take race cam yet again from the Sunoco race camp, and you saw the lead change as Morgan Shepherd went past him. There's Morgan in the Valvoline car just in front, using the high line through turn number 2 and now onto the back straight. They'll be coming up to put yet another lap on 3 cars just in front of them. Well, this time Morgan Shepherd is forced to go very wide indeed, and closing up behind him is Sterling Marlin. Barry Graham is the next car they come up on, the number 2 car, as they come down through the tri-oval, heading down into turn number 1. And the other car on the inside looked like Ken Laws in car number 6. They negotiate those quite nicely. Terry Byers amongst that group as they come down the back straight, and they've broken clear of the traffic yet again. There's several interesting dices going on, involving probably 3 or 4 cars. They all pale into insignificance when these 2 guys attack them. Across the line again, Morgan Shepherd. Sterling Marlin, Michael Waltrip, Rick Wilson, Harry Gant, Johnny Rutherford, Rodney Combs, Trevor Boys, Roy Smith and Jimmy Richards now up running 10th in the field. Ronnie Saw is 11th, Alec Rice is 12th, followed by Glenn Stewart, Mark Gibson, Terry Byers, David Sosby, Robin Best, Jim Cook, Danielson and Dick Johnson. Here's Michael Waltrip now. Car number 30. He's already passed Rick Wilson in the 57 car. And in fact, Michael Waltrip is now to third. Coming off turn number 4. Harry Gant now closing on the tail of the 57 car, Rick Wilson. Waltrip just 1 ahead of them. Wilson starts out and around the outside of 42. As they go down the back straight, that was Mark Gibson. And Harry Gant in the number 11 car sitting right behind Rick Wilson. Through the triovalist, Terry Byers pulling down into the middle lane and allowing free passage for both Rick Wilson and Harry Gant. Now Gant looks towards the inside as they come off, perfectly positioned here on Rick Wilson. They'll pace it out side by side, going down the back straight away. Wilson with the Chevy from the Junior Johnson team in the United States, the Budweiser car. And I think he may just have enough here as they come off the turn to be able to get the inside run on Rick Wilson. No, Wilson outpowers him on the outside. He's forced to drop in behind and get the draft down into turn number 1. As they come off turn 2 yet again, going to try that manoeuvre. We'll check out the top 5 for you.
Well, this is the fight for 4th and 5th. Wilson and Gant. And Gant desperate for some way through there. We check them on the Castrol scoreboard again. Morgan Shepherd still leading from Sterling Marlin. Michael Waltrip in third of the NASCAR Christmas 500 for Johnny Rutherford. Oh, what a mess.
Yes, Johnny Rutherford, car number 31, striking the concrete wall between turns 3 and 4, engaging in quite a dice for about 5th place in the field. And both Rutherford and Barry Graham touched. Both cars spun around. Rutherford went into the wall. We'll be able to show that for you shortly.
Oh dear, Rutherford's car looks pretty sick.
Have a look on our NEC replay. As you can see, Barry Graham spinning. Johnny Rutherford has already hit the wall up there. Graham's car continues to spin and slides down the bank. Rutherford's car stops at the top end of the circuit. But it looked like those two cars touched going into the turn. And Rutherford's car is back in the pit area.
At least you got a job.
And they're doing some rejigging of the car to see what they can do, whether they can repair the car in time. They're amazing, these guys, just the way that...
Opportunity to duck into the pits.
It's amazing because so much of it is a body covering on a space frame. Very often it can look so much worse than it really is.
Dave Marcus, I can see, has also gone in. Poor old Dave. Pole sitter has been dropping back through the field as the race has unfolded. They're not giving up. I mean, you see the damage initially done to these cars when they hit the concrete wall. You'd think, well, that's it for the day. But these guys just never know when to call it quits when.
No, I'm amazed that they'll still run at such a competitive speed when the front end is so modified. You'd expect that the aerodynamics would slow the darn thing down so much.
Well, they had a number of races this year in the United States. I think the most notable being one where Rusty Wallace came from 3 laps down with 50 laps to go and won it by 20 seconds.
Really? This is knowing your sport,
Yep.
knowing how to use the yellow situations, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this car looks as if it's heavy back and front at the moment.
Yeah. Whether or not they get the porta power out there and try and get the frame to pop back in and get everything gaffer taped up and go racing again.
It's interesting for qualifying, for instance, where they cover up all the holes in the front of the car, the cooling hose, blank the front off.
But as Wynne pointed out a few moments ago, you've got very light gauge steel covering just the space frame, and this car has really taken a knock, so it certainly looks torn and damaged, but it depends on how substantial it is down in the corner of the car there as to what that's going to do to the performance of it or the way, in fact, that it handles. There's also a fairly substantial amount of damage towards the left rear. There's currently a guy down there at the moment with a crowbar of all delicate tools trying to sort that out as well. So these guys are going to be stuck here for a while, 2.5 minutes. Incidentally, Morgan Shepherd in car 75, the Raymock entry has been in, and they've tweaked the right rear of that car to get it handling a little better. They were complaining earlier on and said they were going to come in the next time they got a caution flag. So that's the situation.
Thanks, Neil. Well, Johnny Rutherford's car is still worked on.
For what reason, I'm not quite sure. Track's clear. All the cars that are capable of running are out there, well, apart from Johnny Rutherford's, and that's still questionable.
Well, they'll give it their best shot. They're a long way away from home, and if they've got the spares, they'll keep working on it there on the racetrack. And competitive again. Barry Graham has rejoined the field too. He was the other driver involved with Johnny Rutherford with their clip in the wall. Ben Stura in car number 18. He's running 12th on the racetrack. Terry Byers is 13th, Mark Gibson 14th, David Sotheby is 15th, Nick Johnson 16th, Robert Best 17th, JC Danielson is 18th.
Well, complexion's changed a bit at the top of the
Start, but it will be Morgan Shepherd to get away quickly. Michael Waltrip, Rick Wilson and Harry Gant. Next is Sterling Marlin and Trevor Boyce as they go down into turn number 1. The all clear given, and they're back to racing again in the Bob Jane T-Mart's Goodyear 500 from Calder Thunderdome. And Morgan Shepherd leads into turn number 3.
car in second spot there on the racetrack. In fact, is not in second place. That's Ron Esau.
He's about to have another lap put on him by Michael Waltrip, then Rick Wilson, Harry Gant and Sterling Marlin.
Morgan Shepherd certainly made a break there.
That's the biggest break I think he's had in the race.
Yep.
Well, whilst he's got the break, the rest of them really have a fight on their hands for second, third, fourth positions as Esau gets the go-by by that division.
Work continues on the Johnny Rutherford car.
Where's Peter Williamson and the axe when you need it?
Yeah, well, they'll keep cutting it apart until they get the wheel to go on. Now, what will be interesting here a little later is our Sterling Marlin, who is running there in the Sunoco car just behind this group. Expect him to be back up on the tail of them shortly. It's behind Michael Waltrip at the moment and closing on them as they go down the back straight. Slips down there as they come off the turn. So in fact Michael Waltrip may have a problem. He got very loose coming out of that corner. Yes, Michael Waltrip has got a problem, all right. Car is slowing dramatically as they come down the front straight. So Michael Waltrip dropping back through the pack, and now Sterling Marlin makes it up into 4th place. The 2 Valvoline cars running 1-2, Morgan Shepherd, Rick Wilson, Harry Gant and Sterling Marlin.
Still reckon Gant's the man in the box seat for this event. He's the man that could end up with a major slice of the prize money here. 80,000 for the winner.
Believe it or not, although he's coming in for a pit stop now, Johnny Rutherford is mobile. I didn't see him go out. That's the sort of remnants of a car. 31, they haven't worried about the hood, so it'll run cool for the rest of the race.
57 on screen. Rick Wilson dicing for the race lead there. Although Shepherd's just given him the slip for the moment. Got a reasonable break. Harry Gant breathing right down his neck. Then Sterling Marlin. They're the top, they're the 3. Second, third and fourth is the battle that you can see.
Morgan Shepherd certainly enjoying a breakaway at the moment anyway.
Yes, that is a good advantage at this stage over teammate Rick Wilson. But Wilson seems under siege here from Harry Gant and, of course, Sterling Marlin in the Sunoco car. There's our race cam again to bring you pictures from that machine. Harry Gant in the 11 car, just in front of him, Rick Wilson, as Sterling Marlin tries to get back in touch with the race leader. Let's cap them for you on the Castrol scoreboard. Morgan Shepherd leading the flock. Rick Wilson is in second. Harry Gant is third.
It's out again on lap 105 here in the NASCAR Christmas 500. Car 41 took a little spin on the turn just near the pit entrance. That's Gene Cook, and he's pulled straight into the pit lane. Didn't really cause any damage or obstruction, but the marshals are pretty quick on the trigger here. They had the yellow flag out in one hell of a hurry. And again, we see a swarm of cars heading for the pits to take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, this will close up the race as we went away for that commercial break. You certainly haven't missed anything, because the number 30 car,
it's Michael Waltrip's car.
Yep, he was running so strongly in the race, and it looks like his car is now behind the concrete wall. And of course, Michael is with Neil Crompton.
It's a bit over-exuberant. Well, to put it nicely, the Aussies don't know when to zig and when to zag yet. I'm sure they'll learn, but right now they got a ways to go, and it makes it pretty treacherous out there.
Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you soon, and we'll rehearse our zigging and zagging. Yes, oh well. A bit of zigging and zagging. I think there's a lot more zigging and zagging to come. We're lining them up, and it won't be long before we have them back under green flag with Sterling Marlin, who
who'll take up the role of pacemaker. Car number 94, the Sunoco entry. There's a little bit of damage as we take the race cam out the back of that car. Barry Graham, car number 2. Barry, of course, came into contact with Johnny Rutherford, but at least is still out there and running.
I see Johnny Rutherford make a quick pit stop there, Mike. Amazingly, they didn't touch the bodywork. They just changed tyres as far as I can see. They seem quite happy with the aerodynamics of the car this time.
Well, the pace car coming into the pit road, so we're going to get a restart to this. Sterling Marlin, Trevor Boys, Rodney Combs. So Combs now makes it up into the top 3. And away they go again, heading down into turn number 1. Sterling Marlin, 94, the Sunoco entry, now leads going onto the back straight. Trevor Boys in the 21 car runs in second. Rodney Combs, a name quite familiar to short track followers. There's Johnny Rutherford. That's quite different than its aerodynamic approach to car racing, but it's still up there and running. These races have a very, very funny way of evening themselves out in the latter stages, so I don't think you've seen the last of Johnny Rutherford. He's still in there coming back through the field.
And now it's Sterling Marlin's time to have a break. He's really pulled out quite a lead again now.
Yes, well, the cars that were worrying him, Morgan Shepherd and Rick Wilson, didn't get them. That's 75 Morgan Shepherd. Runs in second spot. He is 1.900 behind our race leader. 112 laps completed. Oh!
We've still got, there's a crash at the top here, Mike. I can't see what car it is. The smoke is pretty thick at the moment.
Barry Graham, I believe.
It is.
In the number 2 car. Has clipped the wall, and there is lubricant running all the way down the racetrack. So he slammed into the 4th turn wall. At least he probably saw it coming, and then the bonnet has gone up. And there's Barry Graham as the rest of the field come through turn 4. Some of them will go straight to the pits. Those who haven't completed their pit stops will come on in, and it'll take the wrecking crew to get rid of the number 2 car off the wall up there. There is oil and water going down the racetrack, as you can see, so that'll require a bit of a clean-up from the crew. They're already racing on a high bank circuit when you're trying to cool your way through the turns and then strike some oil. Has a habit of putting you out of commission very, very quickly. And he's done a number on that one. Let's have a look at Barry Graham. He's gone slam up there with the brakes on into the wall. Hoods come up. And he glides along the wall. That is really graunching the car into the wall. I'd say that is a very severely damaged race car. Unless they're trying to put the front back on and get him into the pits. There's the number 21 car of Trevor Boys. He has already been in the pits and heads back out again. They're quickly trying to pull the front off the car to enable the wrecking crew to get the car off the wall. That is to get the car off the wall. That is bad luck for Barry Graham. His first attempt at NASCAR racing, driving the McInerney car number 2. Already been in the wars today after that incident with Johnny Rutherford a little earlier in the race.
It was that front right corner that was damaged as well.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder sometimes if perhaps there was a little bit of damage there that perhaps wasn't noticed at the time.
That we showed you before we've picked up. So have a look at it again, the NEC. Watch, there's something on the racetrack, and then all of a sudden we pick up, and Barry Graham's car has got the hood up and slamming back into the wall. So there is the suggestion that maybe he struck the wall first and the bonnet has popped up, or something has come off the car, the hood has jammed up and he's gone straight into the wall. But officials and the medics were there to assist him to get from the car. He's taken quite a heavy jolt into the wall on the racetrack there. There goes Barry Graham off to the right. The next shot we have, something else is already off the car. It's struck the wall, the hood's up, and he's graunching back again into the concrete wall. Now that was heavy contact, Win.
Well, that's for sure the heaviest one we've seen today, Mike.
It is bad luck for Barry, who they're helping out of the car at this moment. They have a marvellous safety facility here at Calder. Appointed motor race facilities. So, and he at least still is running. And there's Barry Graham's car being pushed back into the pit area. And it, in fact, did take one heck of a wallop. We might have the opportunity, our mobile camera team down in the pits, and that will give you an idea how hard it has graunched the car up on one side. And the information coming from our camera crew is that Barry is okay, just suffering a whiplash after hitting the wall, and he's gone to the infield hospital and is in good hands, so that's good to know he's quite okay.
Seems unusual, Mike, the angle that it went in at, that it wasn't in a spinning situation or anything. It was such a heavy, direct impact.
Yeah, might give us a chance. Down a lap. 9th place and down 2 laps, Mark Gibson in 42, Glenn Sturer in car number 18, and David Sotheby. There's the windshield on the Barry Graham car. It took quite a hammering. But Barry's okay.
Again, in the NASCAR Christmas 500, they've completed 123 laps.
Race leader is still not Morgan Shepherd, I should say, but Sterling Marlin in car number 94, who has led this race from time to time.
Morgan Shepherd in 2nd spot.
Might be easier, yes, to follow some of the numbers. Our race leader, as they go across the line, is, of course, Sterling Marlin in car number 94. The man who will be up to challenge him shortly will be Morgan Shepherd in car number 75. That should be hard to follow because that's the way it's been for most of the race. Then back behind them, Harry Gant in car number 11. Then, of course, Rick Wilson in car number 57, followed by Rodney Combs in car number 12. So if you can't see all the numbers, that's how they're running. Down across the strike, Sterling Marlin, car number 94, the Sunoco special. And there's the gap that he holds over our 2nd place driver, Morgan Shepherd. They're all on the same lap. The back straight now, and that's probably a 3-car length break that Sterling Marlin has. Over car number 75, Morgan Shepherd. Harry Gant now on the outside in car number 11, running in 3rd, and Rick Wilson, 57, in 4th. Rodney Combs, car number 12, in 5th.
Rodney Combs is another one in the number 12 car who's been out there circulating and has managed to stay out of trouble pretty much most of the day. And that's the way you win these races.
Well, here is, of course, Rick Wilson in car number 57 going around the outside of Dave Marcus. Gee, that flat tyre was costly for Marcus early in this race. He was looking so sharp. Meanwhile, up in front again, the dice is on between Morgan Shepherd and Sterling Marlin. They are nose to tail as they come down across the starting line. There's Trevor Boyes going through in car number 21. Boyes still running 6th in the race behind Rodney Combs. Back straight. There is our race leader, Sterling Marlin, to open up 4 or 5 car lengths. And all the time, back comes Morgan Shepherd. Good ad there for Valvoline as he comes down the inside this time, coming off the corner. And they are side by side as they go down the back straight. How close do you like it? Now Marlin comes back at him on the outside. The two of them side by side into turn number 3. Fascinating stuff now. Out by the wall.
That's real racing.
That is real racing.
Isn't that incredible?
And great pictures from 7's exclusive race cam as once again they go into the next turn side by side. Working hard at the wheel. How cool are they? Marlin out by the wall. Down on the inside is Morgan Shepherd.
Coming up on a slower car too.
As they head into the next turn, they're coming up on Ian Clarkson in car number 8, and that has given the break to Sterling Marlin. Now it's Morgan Shepherd who has to drop in right behind them, and guess what? Right behind Morgan Shepherd is his teammate, Rick Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson's the one who benefited from that.
In the 57 Valvoline Pontiac. Then just coming around the outside of Clarkson there onto the back straight, you can see Harry Gant, and behind him is Rodney Combs and Trevor Boyes. Great stuff. We go back outside the cars for 94. Race leader Sterling Marlin.
That's the top 3 there. Marlin, Shepherd, Wilson.
They're really having a fantastic sprint out there. They're coming up, I think, on J.C. Danielson to put a lap on him. All sweep around the outside in tandem. And he's doing a great job out there for Sunoco. Sterling Marlin, first trip to Australia. Short track expert. Loves the layout here. And the two Raymock Valvoline Pontiacs of Morgan Shepherd and Rick Wilson also having a wow of a time fighting for second place. Back behind them, of course, is Harry Gant in car number 11.
Marlin, car 94. There's 75, second place getter on screen. Morgan Shepherd. And here we go, Sevens race cam again, out of the rear of Sterling Marlin's 87 model Oldsmobile. And they're still breathing down his neck, but he's desperate to hang on to this lead position because we've gone through 134 laps. 6 more laps from now, he'll pick up an additional $15,000 bonus prize money as the leader at the halfway mark.
It's not bad stuff. Once again, the leading trio straight around the outside of a slower car. They are bumper to bumper and fighting for it. Once again, here he comes, Morgan Shepherd up on the inside, and they bang wheels. Halfway down the straight, the two of them getting into heavy metal, and Rick Wilson trying to get between them.
You don't get any closer than that.
Coming off turn number 2 onto the back straight. Marlin floats it out around the outside of Ken Laws in car number 6. Morgan Shepherd sits right on his bumper. That's HB. Aerodynamic, whatever it is, still clinging to the low line as they come off the turn. They're all hanging in there for the prize money. About 16,000 to run last in this race, 18,000 to win it. Marlin just hugging down the inside line. Here comes Morgan Shepherd. His car might just have a bit more grunt coming off the turns, but Marlin has some top end stuff that he can't handle. Now they swarm into turn number 3. Again, bumper to bumper coming off there, down through the tri-oval. Little wiggly that time from Sterling Marlin.
Three more laps to the halfway mark in this race. It's only just begun.
Race cam again. The Sunoco special as we come down the back straight. Rick Wilson. Wilson got a little bit of body damage there, a little flapping.
Closing quickly on Johnny Rutherford around the outside of him. The battered car.
Marlin gets past. Now Shepherd. Now Wilson. And they are coming up on Robin Best of Tasmania to put a lap on Robin as they go down to the bottom corner, car number 88.
3.3 seconds from the leader to the 4th place getter in car 11, and that's Harry Gant.
Halfway down the back straight, Marlin gets a little bit of a break there for a while, a couple of car lengths. But believe it or not, Morgan Shepherd closes it up again. And Rick Wilson right up on the bumper of his teammate Shepherd. Heading down at the end of the straight. Now watch this as they come off the corner. In fact, Shepherd's car is very quick coming off that turn, but Marlin's car just has a little more top-end stuff.
They've got a fairly clear road ahead of them now. Then it's Jimmy Richards and Dick Johnson.
We'll be coming up on the pair of those.
Watching this top 3 battle, meantime Alan Grice has slid by Ron Esau and is now in 7th place on the racetrack.
So Morgan Shepherd is keeping the pressure well and truly on Sterling Marlin.
Grice is really having a good race, you know. He's only dropped 1 lap at this stage, and the pace of this is incredible.
We are halfway down the back straight. This time Morgan Shepherd elects an inside run to see if he can keep the pressure on Sterling Marlin. Marlin goes in high. Now, once again, he closes it up. The two of them will be pretty tight as they come off down through the tri-oval. Marlin has maybe just enough to hold out, and they are coming up right behind Jimmy Richards and Dick Johnson to put another lap on them.
And they've gone through the halfway mark, so that's 15 grand extra for Sterling
Morgan
Marlin.
Shepherd's right down on the inside.
Beautiful line this time. They're coming up on these 2 cars to lap. Halfway down the back straight, here's Morgan Shepherd putting the pressure well and truly on Sterling Marlin, and pinches Marlin, gets to the outside. Up to put a lap more on Grice and Jimmy Richards. Traffic very heavy here. Who's going to win this encounter? Morgan Shepherd gets around the outside of the pair of them. Marlin ducks down low. And right behind him is Rick Wilson. Then, of course,
there's a car spun at the main straight right in front of our commentary position. Robin Best, it looks like, in 88. So the yellow flag is out.
Yes, Best looks like he just looped that there and clipped the wall.
Whew. Well, we could do with a breather, I think. That last 15, 20 laps there with the top three really going at it as if it were a 50-lap sprint race win, Percy, not 280 laps.
Well, not even a 50-lapper. This is more like 20-lap sprint racing in my world. It's quite incredible. This is my first taste of NASCAR, and I must admit, it's really gripping.
Well, just about every time we've been going to shift away and show you a bit of Dick Johnson, who's been by himself, and Jimmy Richards. The battle up front just rages, and I tell you, I don't care who you support. It's very hard to go away from a race like this where you have three guys just hammer and tongs into it all the time. Let's just see what happened to Gene Cook. Oh, you need tyres with grip, someone said, and Gene goes pow, just clips the wall, brings the front around. Sorry, Robin Best, and slides on down the racetrack. Two cars, identical, Robin Best and Gene Cook. Robin owns both of them. So that was the exit. And the story of
Robin's accident started at the beginning of turn 4, didn't it? And it just continued.
145 laps of unbelievable action here in the NASCAR Christmas 500 at the Calder Thunderdome in Melbourne. You're enjoying it live on the Australian television network round Australia. That's Robin Best, car 88. We saw him come to grief there just before we went to that break. And here's another look at it. Round and round like the proverbial merry-go-round.
Gee, that was a lick into the wall. It all happened so quickly.
Well, it's all happening quickly there and in the pit area. Let's go down to Neil.
7th. We'll be bringing you some of Alan Grice shortly. Down a lap, Ron Esau, Roy Smith. And, of course, from Dick Johnson's car, his headlight cam. A low ride around Calder Thunderdome in the number 17 Shell Redcoat car. Dick is in, of course, the number 17 Ford Thunderbird. Grice at this moment, though, still the leading Australian, 7th spot, and on the same lap as the leaders. Won't you come home, HB Bailey? And he has, for some more repairs. This time, you never know, they're probably replacing the rear end, the gearbox and the radiator in between pit stops. But they keep on keeping on. Almeida parts entry number 36, HB Bailey. Robin Best, of course, now exits, was running up about 16th or 17th. Jimmy Richards is running 13th. Gene Cook is running 20th. But one lap before we get them back to racing again. And after that rash of pit stops, it will be car number 75. May vault Alan Grice up a spot. Is car number 88, Robin Best. Looks like they're having a look to see whether there's any chance of repairing that car. In the Monte Carlo, boy from Tasmania, who really loves his NASCAR racing, is really into it. He's gone to the States, managed to import some cars. Must be hard seeing that they haven't got a Brisbane, one in Sydney. So it's going to really see a lot of this racing in the future. We're back to racing. 75. Morgan Shepherd and Sterling Marlin go at it again. Down into turn number 1. Here's Marlin on the outside. I think Morgan Shepherd has got through on the inside. 93 is, of course, not on the same lap as them. But as they go down the back straight, there is Morgan Shepherd in 75, Sterling Marlin right behind him. In car number 94, Harry Gant in car number 11. As they come off and across the line, it's Morgan Shepherd, Marlin, Gant. 57, Rick Wilson coming up. Trevor Boys, Ron Esau, and Alan Grice in 8th spot at the moment. Shepherd back along the back straight. Car number 93, of course, is down a lap. And we take the Sunoco race cam coming out of Sterling Marlin's car as he goes back after the race leader, Morgan Shepherd. Harry Gant is closing right behind them. Rick Wilson, Rodney Combs, and Alan Grice. They're running Pretty deep into the turns now. They've gone past the halfway mark. Due to the late start of today's race, we'll be carrying it all the way through on the Australian television network on the east coast of Australia up to 6 o'clock. Right up to 7's nightly news on the east coast of Australia. And we'll be sticking with this race. It is fascinating. In fourth in car number 57. The man who won the Oscar race with such a degree of skill and providing us with a thrill was... We'll just wait for them to come across the line.
Sterling's closing that gap again. The two of them are making a break.
Yeah, coming off onto the back straight. We'll follow the next bunch. As I started off to say, the man who did so well in the Oscar race this morning, Brad Jones, sits in with us at the moment. You couldn't get it much closer than this, Bradley.
This racing is great, Mike. I can't believe that they've gone for this long, and there's still only 2 car lengths between the lead cars.
And back behind them, of course, we've been showing that scrap for third, fourth and fifth. Rodney Combs still hanging in there in fifth place at the moment. But as they go down the back straight, we'll recap them for you. 75 is Morgan Shepherd, the race leader. From 94, Sterling Marlin getting closer all the time. Harry Gant in car number 11 is third. Rick Wilson in the 57 Pontiac is fourth. And Rodney Combs in the number 12 car runs back in fifth place. Things were pretty tight in the finish of your race today, and you just got there.
Short half head, I think they called it.
Short half head, racing parlance.
Yeah, it's a great form of motorsport. Of course, we don't go quite as fast as these guys, but we average our times about a second a lap slower, so it's still very quick. They're doing about 130 mile an hour down the straight.
Once again, we take race cam in the car, the Sunoco car of Sterling Marlin, as he follows Morgan Shepherd along the back straight. And as they go into the left-hander, a guy that we've been impressed with today, Alan Grice. There he is in the 03 car. And Alan, of course, has fought his way up onto the leading lap, running about 7th or 8th in the field at the moment. In fact, he is 7th on the same lap as the leaders. And that is quite an incredible performance, seeing that when he qualified, his time yesterday was down on that of his mark in February of this year.
The other thing is, Mike, that they run every weekend over here, or 3 weeks of every month in the States with those things. So for Grice to get one and be as competitive as he is quite an achievement this weekend.
Well, he only came back from Europe, as I understand, earlier this week. Is firming up what his plans are for next year. But I know that a NASCAR program is certainly part of his plans, and he is driving just as aggressively now as he was at the start of the race. 8th place is Trevor Boys in the 21 car. He's 2 back behind Grice at this stage. They've been having a wow of a run. Well, when you've done a lot of driving with Gricey this year in Europe, you know a man that's more determined, more aggressive in his racing?
He's probably one of the most determined people I've ever raced with. We did Le Mans together with the Nissan this year, and we've competed throughout Europe in the European Touring Car Championship. And I know Alan absolutely loves NASCAR. I believe he was one of the first Australians to show a real interest and an ability. And as you say, he's certainly showing it here again today.
Well, we have this great scrap going on at the moment for 7th place. There's Grice in car number 03. And the man who is tagging him at the moment looking for 7th is the 8th place driver, Trevor Boys, in car number 21. They put another lap on the driver of car number 86 as they work the back straight. They come down, looking lap 167 of 280 in the Bob Jane T-Mart's Goodyear NASCAR 500. And we're following this exciting scrap for 3rd place in the race at the moment between Harry Gant in car number 11 and Rick Wilson in car number 57 of Valvoline Pontiac. They are sitting probably about 10 or 12 car lengths back of our race, or off the 2nd place driver Sterling Marlin at this stage of the race. And they are shortly to close on Dick Johnson, who is up running about 4 14th. Yes, he's 14th on the road at the moment. Gant, car number 11. He's had a wretched season in the United States. 2 bad seasons, in fact. And it would be rewarding for him to pick up a major placing here in Australia. Coming back through the tri-oval again.
If you have a look at Rick Mears, the second Valvoline car, you'll notice that it's oversteering a fair bit and he's having a little trouble getting right on Harry.
Ricky Wilson, yep. He's as close as you want to be now as they come down the back straight. He is sitting right on his bumper and charges in between those two as we pick up on car number 26, Terry Byers in the pit. Boy from Wollongong in New South Wales, who's been up there in the top 14 or 15 throughout the race. In fact, up to 13th. Crew there in some disarray. Second highest placed Aussie in the field at the moment, but that's going to change as he is in the pits. There's not too much he can do about it as they change tyres. 21st place is Johnny Rutherford, I notice, in car number 31, so he's been able to get back. I notice also the officials today pointing the traffic flag at a few drivers to remind them that keep looking in their mirrors. It must be to this stage of the race where a few of the Australians who haven't done this amount of laps before will be Stardust Queensland's favourite son, the Australian touring car champion. And it would be very easy, I guess, for Dick Johnson to walk away from this type of racing after he's had such a great season and a competitive season. But he's the first to admit he's got a lot to learn, and he's enjoying the learning curve. He'll have a new car for 1989 and hopes to be more competitive out here.
I'm sure the pot of gold at the end of all this isn't going to hurt his pocket either. 14th years at the moment, there's $21,000 up for that.
That's not too shabby, is it? Dick Johnson, of course, a man who's used to winning in season 88, the Oscar 500, and being rounded up there on the outside at the moment by Trevor Boys in car number 21. Boys up running in 6th place on the racetrack, and it is still very, very warm out there on the racetrack.
I would say this that Brad mentioned just now, the blind spots that you get. I would imagine that's one of the most difficult things to get used to. Suddenly the car disappears from your rear view mirror and you really don't know where it is. And I suppose you know darn well if you hang up there a little bit, the guy might have just backed off that bit to give you the chance to go through. He might not have done. It is difficult to know whether to take the advantage or not.
It certainly is. In Oscar, we get to about halfway around the corner, and if they haven't stuck their nose in, we
close the door.
Work them over, yeah. So these guys do it every weekend, and they're professionals, and they are very switched on to what's going on around them.
Let's recap the placings for you at the moment on the Castrol scoreboard. Morgan, you're right. Car number 18, Ian Clarkson.
Yeah.
Car number 8. It's in with some motor problem. Ian, Victorian sedan racer. First try at NASCAR racing, and he's been running quite well. There's Trevor Boys in car number 21. He is 5th on the road at the moment. He's been tailing Rodney Combs. Rodney will be sitting right behind him. There's Rodney. And he's headed towards his best ever NASCAR finish after a couple of years of trying to crack the big time after being a champion of the short tracks on the dirt in the United States.
Big result here for Rodney would do him world of good when he gets back home to the US of A.
As he was in line 2 years ago for Rookie of the Year in NASCAR. Had a good ride. And then, of course, it is a very competitive...
Morgan Shepherd, the winner, the leader. I said the winner. They don't give up down there. Look at this. What do you want me to do now? What else can I try?
That's Fitz in the pits. Well, they're going to go back out if the attrition rate grows. Stick a radiator back in it and get out and pick up
enough money to repair the car.
Yeah. I think with the prize fund that Bob James put up here today, they're just going to work until they do get to the finish.
Yes. The remnants of Johnny Rutherford's bodywork still sitting on the racetrack there. Robin Best, we saw encounter the concrete wall. Now, most people would have given it away. Robin Best is just sitting there. They're rebuilding the car.
He looks very calm and relaxed when you consider what they're doing to his motor car.
Combs has just been lapped by Morgan Shepherd, and Trevor Boys running, in fact, at the moment, 5th on the road, will also be lapped shortly.
Mike, just harking back to why these guys in the pits are still trying so hard. There's Richards in the pits. He might have been out of fuel. Maybe that's why. Let's go down to Neil Crompton, find out if he knows the answers.
Not exactly sure at the moment, Wilco. I just spoke to John Shepherd. He's not too sure either. He suggested that one of the things that may be wrong is that Richo is just well and truly worn out, but I find that hard to believe. He's one of the coolest racing drivers in the business, but there doesn't seem to be an apparent problem with the car. They've topped it up with gas, which is the usual precaution on a pit stop. They're not worried too much about rubber at the moment. They're not lifting the bonnet. You can well see all that. And at the moment, they're just giving the driver a drink. He's been in there now for 30-odd seconds.
100 and completed. He leads by a margin of 6 seconds now over Sterling Marlin, car 94. And 57, Rick Wilson is closing now on Marlin in second place. A real battle for the top 3 positions here.
I don't think Jimmy Richards had the advantage of a cool suit here today,
No. Well, here's our 5th place driver, Trevor Boys, in number 21, about to be lapped by Morgan Shepherd, race leader in car number 75. Down on the inside comes Morgan Shepherd in the Valvoline Pontiac. Gets pretty tight as they come off there, but he has the inside run down through the tri-oval to put a lap on Trevor Boys.
That leaves only 4 cars on the lead lap, and there is only 10 seconds between those 4 cars. That's after 204 laps of racing. Morgan Shepherd is the leader. Sterling Marlin holding down second spot from Rick Wilson. Harry Gant is 4th. Trevor Boys is 5th in the NASCAR Christmas